Read again. Rabbi Meir Omer, "Have memayet be'esek v'yasrek v'torah v'shefar ruach b'fnei kol adam." He says, "Have memayet be'esek." We spoke about that last week. One has to learn to decrease. One has to learn time management. Requires to sort of a person should not spend time when that time spent is not efficient. That time spent is not efficient. And you should be humble before everybody. Now let's take a look at Rambam. הווה שפל רוח בפני כל האדם. רוצה לומר שלא תהיה שפל רוח בפני הגדולים לבד. Do not be humble only before great people. Right? I see the president, I see a 4-star general, then I'm humble. Omnam bifnei kol adam. But if you don't be humble before everybody else, that is not real humility. He's saying bifnei kol adam. Ad shekisheteshev im eiz adam sheyeh sipur chaim כאילו הוא גדול במעלה יותר ממך. So the way you talk to everybody, the respect comes across. You respect a person because he's a person, not because of whatever stripes he's got or because of whatever position he's got. The true respect needs to come because you care about the person. Because you care about the person. Not because of who he is or what he is. So again, it's important, he says, it comes from the way you speak to them. Right? At the end of the day, our tones, our words, betray how we feel about somebody. I'm sure all of you have experienced. You talk to a 2-year-old, your tone betrays you. My 4-year-old, I said, no, I wasn't angry. No, you were angry. Your tone betrays you. Everybody, the way you talk truly expresses how you feel within. How you feel within. So וזה כולו לברוח מן הגאווה כמו שבאנו. Now, for one to truly to stay away from gava, stay away from the pitfall of egotism, one has to start give credit, give true chashivut to the person. I'll tell you a story. If he hadn't said it, I wouldn't be allowed to say it. I was Zwag. Most of you have met Rabbi Zwag. Yes, he was here a number of times. Now the man is a giant in his relationship, the way he relates to everybody. Like it really would have been asur for me to say, if not the fact that he said it himself. He told us, he said they were at a conference for Rosh Yeshivot. They had a weekend conference for Rosh Yeshivot. They also get together, I don't know if it's every year, every other year, talk about the issues, try to sort of come up with ideas and with uniform policies towards some of the bigger, more universal problems facing. So at any rate, so he says, you're there over the weekend. And he says, there are these waitresses that bring us the meal over Shabbat. And I was nice to all of them. I said, thank you. I tried to be very gracious to all of them. At the end of the day, they're working for us. So he says, something happened, that's what he said. If he hadn't said it, I couldn't say. So I really wanted to kick myself. That's what he said, always what? The person who's a giant in his relationship. So what happened? So I was sitting next to Rav Shmuel Kamenetsky, Shlita de Shiva, Philadelphia. And one of the waitresses serving us lunch, Rav Shmuel Kamenetsky asked her, what happened to you? Where are your glasses? You okay? So she said, yeah. Rav Shmuel Kamenetsky asked the waitress. She said, yeah, my glasses broke, so I'm not wearing. Right. So Rav Zwag said, I wanted to kick myself. I didn't notice that she was wearing glasses last night and not today. So I told myself, look, I didn't look at the person, I just thanked her. I did not connect to her on a level of a person. Next to me, Rav Shmuel Kamenetsky did. He noticed she was wearing glasses last night and now today she's not wearing. He's concerned.
Was that Sinyud?
What?
To paid such attention.
I don't know if he paid attention. He noticed. I understand. I understood his question. See, he wasn't looking. He noticed. When that was Rab Zwag's whole point. You look at him. No, you don't look at the face. Look at a person. There is a person here. You connect to him on a level of person, or you connect to him on a level of help. You know, when you are relating, are you relating to a waitress or are you relating to a person? When you're relating to a person, things are different. And this is what Rambam is saying. Don't relate to whatever the job description is. So when I relate to the job description, then I would relate different to a mayor than I would, relate to somebody else. Because the mayor, I really want him to remember me and do me favors, etc., etc. Now that is obviously part of it. We have relationships, we have certain expectations, but in the core of it, we can't forget the person. There is a person there. There is a person there. Once you remember there's a person, how they feel, what they think, you say certain words. I was just thinking, whatever. I'm not going to go through why I was reminded. I was reminded of something that happened 1987. Right? And, we're a bunch of young guys. But I don't want to. Okay, I wasn't really part of it. I was more on the sidelines, but we were all a bunch of kids. And we picked on somebody, and I just remembered it today, 1987. That's many years ago, no? December 1987. The poor guy, it wasn't his own fault. We just didn't like something that happened. So he became the center of our attention and all our pranks, unfortunately. And I was thinking to myself, with the benefit of hindsight, so many years, poor guy, what did he do? Right? Now, if you look at someone, you relate to them on a level of a person, these mistakes don't happen. Right? Somebody gets angry, and in his anger he lashes out at someone else also. If you remember you're dealing with a person, if you remember I am a person, I like to be treated a certain way. I like to be treated, when I come home, I like to be treated, people acknowledge me. No one likes to go, let's say, to a fair, to a situation, to a house, to a store, and he's treated like he's non-existent. Nobody notices it. We don't like it. None of us like it. So if I see another person, if I treat him as a person, then I realize, I can't ignore there is a person here. Nobody likes that. He needs to be acknowledged. He needs to, I'm aware you're here. Even if it means you go to a library a lot of times, obviously nobody talks to anybody else. Right? Because that's the expected form. So, but in different situations, it's not so. And even if it's just to say hello, how are you? I noticed you. Hi, how are you? It's nice meeting you, and then you continue on your way. But at least we related on a level of a person. Right? I think it's very important. Rambam says, respect and humility comes not from the fact that you respect, what we consider important people, VIPs. VIPs, that doesn't show you are you're humble. When you relate with everybody as a person, that's true humility. That is Rambam right here, what you just read. That's what he's saying. I think Rambam is telling us that Shmuel Kamenetsky, he has real humility. Because looked at a person, didn't see just a waitress that brings me my food. And because I'm a nice person, I say thank you. No, it's a person. Happens to be a waitress. But the more important thing is, the definition is a person. Is a person. Now again, all of you know Rabbi Zwag, or I wouldn't have said this story. Rabbi Zwag is a giant. And the fact that he noticed this shows us how great he is. But he was sort of saying that was a lesson to him to relate to people on a person level first, and then on whatever the position is. Whatever the position is. I want to say one more thing here. A lot of times people tell me, you fill in the blank. Well, I'm going to use anger, because that comes up very often. I'm not an angry person.
They make me.
They just make me angry. Right? They just really get on my nerves. Now, true, I understand that. They really push this button. Right? But isn't that what you're talking about? I mean, if you're talking about somebody who gets angry for no reason, he's got real issues. I mean, he's got to go and right. He's got to go see what's going on. Right? Nobody gets angry. Well, nobody should get angry. No, we don't expect people to get angry if there is no reason. If everything is peachy and everything is beautiful, so of course there is nothing to get angry about. That is when we talk about controlling your anger. We're talking about, yes, when people push your button, when you really feel frustrated, then you have self-control enough not to give in to anger. That's what it means. We can't pat ourselves on the back, I'm very good. I don't get angry unless it's calm, unless they pushed me into it. So that's also, who could come and say, this Rambam, I think, is also telling us the same thing. I'm a humble person. I'm not an egotistic person, because when I'm talking to people greater than me, I am humble. Well, that is the norm. That is of course, how are you going to feel yourself over somebody so the true humility comes when you deal with it, with all types of people who are in your mind VIPs, and people whom you may not think they are VIPs. You give them their due. Look. Every single person, even those who we think are truly not as smart, those who we think are not driven, not more, whatever it is, every one of us has in our mind people who we think they're not much.
Not worthy.
Right? Chas v'shalom. You have to remember, that person has a brain that is more powerful than the most powerful computers. He still has ways he does things. He has his own way of approaching things and his own way of dealing with it. Just because it doesn't sit right with me doesn't make him any less of a person. Okay. כשם שפרצופיהן אינן שוות, כך דעותיהן אינן שוות. I told you this, what the Pirke Avoth says on this. Gemara says, just like you don't have two different people who don't look the same, so too you don't have two different people who think the same, who have the same personality. Everybody is different. Good? What's the problem with this statement?
Treat them.
What?
Obviously, what?
No, it's not so obvious. You don't know that people think differently. I think really, I gotta buy, German cars, and everybody buys Japanese cars is an idiot. But somebody else thinks Japanese cars are the right move to go, and the idiots are those who buy German cars. So Chazal needed to tell us that people think different. Don't think just because you've looked at every single angle, and in your mind this is it. You gotta go with Japanese cars. Don't think that everybody else needs to come to the same conclusion. So Chachamim tell us you should know that. Minds work differently. But what's the problem with this statement?
Comparing to faces.
That's it. Who cares about faces? You want to tell me a statement, people think differently. So that people think differently.
It's changing.
Well, the Gemara says, just like the faces are not the same, so too, the personalities and the way of thinking is not the same. Well, why do you need that comparison? What did that comparison teach you that I wouldn't have known without the comparison? What added knowledge is it in the comparison? So Pirke Avoth says, because we are willing to give people that. Nobody comes and says, you know what? I don't like you because your eyes is not like my eyes. It's not the same color, it's not the same size, or your nose is longer than mine. Whatever the case is, we recognize that, look, it works for you, what you got works for you, what I got works for me. So that's what I'm saying. You got to realize it works differently. It works with them. It's more than, I don't want to tell you just a fact that, you know what, it's different. They want to tell you much more than that. Everybody has their own way, and you cannot come and decide my way is better. It's not so. There are different ways. You have total of whatever. According to Kabbalah, we know that's why Hashem made it till there were exactly 600,000 people to give him Torah. You know what Zohar says? Because that's the different type of personalities you could have. You could have 600,000 personalities. Way of thinking, way of doing.
That's the ceiling?
What? Well, after that you could always have the mixtures, right? You could always have the mixtures. Yeah.
I mean, you could have the.
But these are the main things. So the point is, it's an
The rest is
unbelievable
the
thing.
subcategory of the.
That means what? There are 600,000 approaches to Torah. That's why Arizal writes that every pasuk of Torah could be understood 600,000 ways. That means the Torah has a message for me and a message for you. And a lot of times you see, you read a pasuk, you're so excited, it just spoke to you. And you go tell somebody else and he doesn't appreciate it such. Right? It speaks to your personality, to your life, to the way you see things. And right? Okay, so they're talking about the greatness of Torah. The greatness of Torah, that the same verse talks to 600,000 personalities. Okay, but the point being that you have that. Hashem waited for that long. Hashem waited till the Jewish nation is exactly 600,000 people to give them Torah. Yes?
When Torah brings a number, that means, there's a very, very big significance in that number.
Usually.
So, I mean, usually. And 600,000, it's extremely telling. It's very important. It's not just a number thrown. It could be in that, usually that part. My question is, since Hashem is unlimited, it seems like we are limiting it to that 600,000 or whatever, 600 or 600,000. That's a limit. We're putting a limit on this. So we get to a point, maybe not this year, maybe in 1,000 years or 100,000 years, that 600,000 people are going to exhaust their understanding. So then we understand Torah. Then Torah would be limited too. It seems like it's limiting Torah. I mean, the fact that...
Could I ask you an easier question?
Yes.
You couldn't answer an easier. Now, see, the question you're asking, this question is all of Sefer Yetzirah and 75% of Sefer Zohar, what you're asking. You're asking Tzimtzum. So Tzimtzum, Kabbalah tells us, is the secret of all secrets. Hashem has somehow, I don't want to go into that's a long thing. God is infinite. Hashem is infinite.
Mm-hmm.
Now somehow He has created this world. By definition, He is connected to this world, which is finite. Or is it not? No, this in the Kabbalistic term is called tzimtzum, to limit oneself. You have to limit infinite to make it finite. It's limited. So the question is, how could unlimited limit itself? Now this question could be asked literally infinite ways. You listen to that the way that one is said is a little bit sophisticated, but it is brought down basically in Sefer Mekubalim. Could Almighty create a rock that He can't pick up? You hear that one, yeah? So it's playing on the same thing. That means translate that. That is said very clearly. Could unlimited create an unlimited to be limited? That's what it means, right? So this interplay of limited and unlimited is really beyond me. Mekubalim deal with it. The idea of tzimtzum is truly at the core, the bedrock of all the secrets of Kabbalah. How Hashem was metzamtzem, and that's the beginning of Sefer Yetzirah. with the Sharga, Hashem says Hashem created a lamp that gives darkness. In order,
A lamp that
Oh, Sharga, that's the name?
no, Sharga is a lamp. It says in order for Hashem to create before Bereshit, before there could be a Bereshit, right? Zohar says before there could be a Bereshit, Hashem created a lamp that gives off darkness. Once Hashem created this lamp that gives off darkness instead of light, it gives darkness. He could make the world.
seems so.
So it means Hashem, a lamp that gives off darkness. That means an apparatus that blocks the infinite light. In order for the world to exist, Hashem was metzamtzem I can't talk about parts of Hashem.
Limited.
Metzamtzem is limited. That's right. And I can't talk about God in parts, but just lesaber toes, and in our terms, to use human terms for Hashem Chashem, right? He had to limit some part of himself that within that limitation, Zohar says you could have a creation. You want to create a creation, a creature, by definition is limited, and creator is infinite. So therefore he had to...
I just came up with something that we heard before, that if the Tower of Babel was, if 600,000 people would go and fight Hashem, they could somehow do something.
Whatever.
That 600,000
So-
came up there again.
Now I would tell you also, there is a piece from Ramban, again, Kohanim say, there is, when the first time anybody thought of population was in England. In England was the first really metropolis in the world. First big city in the world. London. London was the first city that ever hit the number 1 million inhabitants. Early 1900, I think 1910. Right. Industrial revolution started in England. This whole in the early 1900s, 1860s, whatever, mid 1900s, the 1860s, whatever. And urbanism has started to take hold. So now they had a lot of problems. I don't want to give you a history lesson here, but they had a lot of problems because nobody had lived in cities before. They had a lot of problems. Cities grew. They had no green space. They have no way of collecting trash. The idea of collecting trash, it didn't exist in the rural areas, in villages, right? You give the bad tomatoes to the cow, and they had no garbage to speak of.
Plastic.
They had no garbage whatsoever. They had no garbage. So then all of a sudden, there were piles of refuse in New York City. People started getting sick, so they had to come up with new systems. Everything changed. FDA, you know how FDA came about? When you're living in a small town, everybody knows everybody. So the baker, or the butcher, or the pharmacy, first of all, if they do something wrong, they see the result. The neighbor's kid is going to be sick. When you have a big city, people don't see the result of their actions. Number two, everybody knows everybody. So it's very hard to do crime. People's conscience doesn't allow them. And so that's how FDA came about. New York City, people were buying bread, and half of it was sawdust.
Was what?
Sawdust.
Right. Fiber is there.
That's right. That's right. And it's just the city is so big, and new immigrants were constantly coming, that it made sense for them to do this. They they changed places. So this whole idea of essential inspections, this and that, started to come about. They sold the children's cough syrup, cough medicine. It was laced with opium. Right, puts the kids to sleep. People thought it works. So again, there was no, when the world changed with urbanism, they had to, the problems existed for some half a century, 50 years, till slowly they came up with solutions. Okay? But anyways, I'm getting off the topic here. They came up with the idea of overpopulation. All of a sudden they saw, things are getting better, health is getting better, and population is growing. So they started governments to figure out at what point the world cannot, it's impossible for the world to feed its people. So they say it was 4.5 billion. 4.5 billion. So if we plant every single arable that's been areas of land that could be planted, arable land, we cannot feed more than 4.5 billion people. Now they have revised that again and again and again, because they've come out that no, really, this world has secrets. If you know how to unlock it.
What year was 4.5 billion? What year?
Early 1900. I don't know. Early 1900s. They decided 4.5. So at this point they say 9 billion. If it passes 9 billion, now they're smart. They say according to our current technologies and this and that, we cannot feed more than 9 billion, right? But just saying, there is a piece Rambam talks about, is that this world is created with this world is created like an onion. There are many, many layers to it, right? And there is I believe, infinite. There is ever increasing way. If you go more to the core, you figure out that me'at mechilet arbe. That a little bit, just like you have a seed, this seed has the DNA, the information. You put this seed on the ground, and a tree will come out of it. It's unbelievable. A tree will come out of this seed, right? So to everything in this world has the potential to expand and grow. As I say, this world is constantly, we see there is more to it than there is. There's always hidden areas that core more and more and more. So I think within your 600,000, another part of the answer is, that is, as far as if quantity is limited to 600,000, the quality, the depth you could get is unlimited. That's my personal belief. You understand? That true 600,000 may be a finite number, but what you do is that 600,000 may be infinite. All right? We'll stop here. We sort of a little bit, went far from our topic here. But again, I'm just going to recap. Number one, humility is to connect with the person first, and then position. Remember, you're dealing with a human being. And number two, humility tells us, not when we think it's the right move to be humble. Not because they deserved that I should be humble. They were such a VIPs. If I have true humility, it comes across the board. Across the board. That's what it says. If somebody gets angry, only way they make you angry, so he's got anger issues. He's got anger issues. We don't expect somebody to get angry for no reason. If he has control, that means he has control even those situations where his buttons are pushed. So too, humility. Someone is humble not because the situation called for humility. He's humble because that's who he is. He connects with people on a human level. All right? Have a great day, everybody.